Oof, what did I just watch? This is not only the best episode of the season, it's probably an episode that could easily be compared with any good Game of Thrones episode. Dialogue? Check. Plot actions and conspiracies? Check. Dragon battles and great CGI? Check, check. Great acting? Check. Comedy moments? Check. Comeback moments and redemptions? Check, check. Great callbacks and expositions? Check. Lesbian scenes? Also check. Well, hello there. So, in the previous episode, I said that the only thing that could save this show is a lesbian scene involving Rhaenyra. And it seems that the writers have been watching my videos. Well, if only they made it with nudity, that would have been much better. But anyway, it's better than nothing. So, as I said in the intro, episode 7 is a great episode. It's the best of the season by far. The only episode that competes with it is episode 5. And both are written and directed by the same people. So, the episode starts with Helena dreams. We have 4 dreams, one of them in the beginning and 3 later. We'll talk about the 3 of them, and we will leave one of them because it might contain spoilers. So, her first dream is we see her in the dragon's pit fighting the mobs, suggesting that a coup is about to happen and she's fighting to defend herself. I think it's either a symbolic thing or an alternative scenario for Helena's future, because I don't think Helena is capable of burning the common folks. And man, her costume is great. And the second dream, we see her with her 2 children, playing with them and keeping her chicken in her little fantasy. And then winter came, which could foreshadow the White Walkers, the North Army, or maybe death. And with Helena, you always see the moon there. Generally speaking, the moon is related to Targaryens and dragons. One of the theories suggests that dragons have come from the moon. This dream is a clear symbolism or an alternative scenario, because we all know that Jaehaerys is already dead in the blood and cheese incident. The third dream is her delivering her baby and he was taken away. And just to say, if this really happens and Rhaenyra kills him, that would be disastrous, because as I said before, she could simply force her to abort and it's all gone. I genuinely can't take more stupid writing. And from Helena dreams, we go to Aemond hallucinations. My boy was having sex with his mom, then when it turned out it was Alice, he got frightened. Frame of the episode. Instead of 2 wives, he has 2 moms fighting over him. Freud would be proud, Aemond. Great job. Your reaction when your plan of killing your son and giving the city to your enemy fails. Alicent's ability to be creative and come up with new ways to destroy her family is astonishing. Mom of the year by far. And since we are speaking of Alicent, I saw many people protesting over her in this episode, because the plan of killing her son and giving the city because they simply ignored her in the small council is not convincing. And I agree with you, it's one of the stupidest things in the show. But can we judge this episode on that? In the end, it's a previous timeline that this episode is trying to build on. As I said before, the foundations are already shaky. That wraps up Aemond and Alicent's story, but we are not done with the Hightowers just yet. Ormond Hightower, the narcissistic, delusional, well-cultivated, vegetarian Ormond Hightower, who's apparently not that delusional and not that stupid. So, first we begin with his meeting with Corlys Velaryon. We notice that there is a sense of mutual respect, but still boundaries. And despite that, Corlys Velaryon is a proud person by nature. He called Rhaenyra a whore in front of all the people. He has major fights with Viserys, but he's also pragmatic. He understands the situation he's in right now. So he's prudent, cautious, and does not make wild moves. Also, we see Daeron's natural concerns concern the northern armies, which triggered Ormond due to 2 reasons. First, it challenges his narcissistic delusional dreams, and second, because he clearly has not seen The Godfather. And in the same time, Ormond is not that stupid to fight an army much bigger than his alone. He has a secret weapon. That was revealed later, which is Olf. And concerning his meeting with Olf, I like how he formulated his words to Olf. And yes, there were a few expositions, but I did not feel like they were forced. I think they were natural in the dialogue. And the surprise thing is that this is not their first meeting. And for me, I think Olf's betrayal is the most realistic one. He was treated badly by Rhaenyra, he was abused and bullied by Daemon. And I will talk later about Daemon, don't worry. Also, Ormond has a lot of spies in the common folks and the Flea Bottom, which is a place where Olf hangs out there most of the time. So their gathering is more than likely. All this happening while Mysaria is busy inviting Horse to the Iron Throne and dominating Rhaenyra. Great mistress of whispers. Ormond is so delusional and isolated from this world that he demeans the Targaryen blood in front of a Velaryon and a Targaryen son. Or maybe the writers forget that. At this point, I'm not sure. And speaking of the Targaryens, we go to another Targaryen, the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, the queen of the Andals, the Rhoynars, and the First Man, the realm's delight, the mother of the prince that was promised, and Mysaria's bottom, Rhaenyra Targaryen. I mean, come on, how can you hate her? Stupid decisions? Who cares? Reluctant? As if that matters. Idiot and self-doubting and insecure? Big deal. Narcissistic who uses the word me, I, and mine every minute? Who cares? Whatever. At least she gave us the best two scenes of the series. I'm still pissed off that there was no nudity. Man, a very wasted potential. In her encounter with Helena, I liked that the first thing she asked Helena about is Daemon loyalty and whether if she's worthy, which is a foreshadowing for the later season. That's good writing. This is the type of things I like. I like the scene of Rhaenyra and Daemon. First, she asked the maid to stay, which has two explanations. First, she's afraid of him, or second, she wants to distance herself from him. And the second thing I liked about this scene is when he told her that he wanted to protect her daughter from her. She said to him, "What do you think I am?" And she's right. She could not kill Otto Hightower. Do you think she would kill your daughter, Daemon? And of course, to the most controversial scene. I don't think it's a bad scene. And of course, the most controversial scene. And I don't think it's a bad scene. First, this is not their first sexual interaction. Second, Rhaenyra's insecurity and self-doubt existed in this episode and in the previous episode. Third, this is not the first time we see Mysaria dropping honey in someone's ear. She literally did the same to Daemon in the first episode of season 1. And that's a great callback. And I'm sure that this is the writer's idea, not Condell. Because the callbacks existed only in 2 episodes in this season, and they are both written by the same person. But wait a minute, there was an important event before these 2 scenes, which is the dragon battle. Did you really think that I forgot it? The dragon battle scene. Oh my god, that's legendary. For me, it's the best dragon fight in the show. Yes, it's better than Melis and Vhagar. It's better than Vhagar and Arax. It's better than all Caraxes fight in the first season. First, the build-up to this scene was great. Seeing the previous event and tension between Daemon and Jen Arryn. The tension between Rhaenyra and Mysaria concerning Daemon. The tension between Daemon and his daughter also. All this made you feel that everything is possible. And the design of the scene itself. We have 4 dragons in a very limited area. And also the presence of a wild dragon like Sheep Stealer, who is unpredictable and uncontrollable. So you really don't know what's about to happen. And it's a fight without dragon riders. Besides that, the design of the fight itself is great. How the dragons use their fire, their claws, their tails, their teeth. And of course, we see the skills of Daemon with Caraxes. The bond between him and Caraxes is legendary. He literally rides him like a car. With also a touch of comedy. The only thing I didn't like in this scene, there were some seconds where Daemon and Caraxes just sat still doing nothing. I don't know what they were up to, honestly. And Daemon. Oh my god, Daemon. I saved the conversation about him until now because I have so many things to say. First, me as everybody else, my favorite character in the show and in the whole dance is Daemon. And I think first season Daemon was phenomenal. And Matt Smith's performance in that season is up with Peter Dinklage and Nikolai. But the writers, after his popularity in the first season, I think had an ethical problem with that. Yes, he kills innocent people. Yes, he murdered his wife. Yes, he ordered the incidents of blood and cheese. And yes, despite of all that, we adore him because he's a charismatic person. It's none of your business. You are here to serve the plot, not to be a humanitarian. They're trying to humiliate him in every possible way. And no, Harrenhal dreams are not excuse for that. The dreams maybe made him pledge loyalty to Rhaenyra under the framing of the prophecy, but they will not alter his traits. I mean, we saw him with Ulf. Daemon who got angry because his brother only said the word help. The one who would rather die than ask for help, say please and be soft. Daemon now is one of the reasons for Ulf betrayal. Not the main reason, because as we have seen, this is not their first meeting, but still. Daemon in the book is the one who makes the suggestion of giving the castles to Ulf. Damon is not a stupid character, he is the mastermind of the blacks. Some passing scenes, Missaria and her whore. Oh my god, a very pointless scene. I mean, 10 episodes left and you waste my time with this nonsense. This scene reminded me, as everybody else, with the iconic Varys and Baelish scene. But they are world aparts. I mean, there is a great difference, which is, I respected Varys and Baelish. I was careful to every word they say because it was some life changing quote, not a stupid mistress who is not able to find Vhagar. And the attempt of making this scene deep was very silly, and it really insulted the audience IQ.
Man with great ambition and no morals, I wouldn't bet against you.
And what would you do, my friend, if you found yourself sitting up there?
I must be one of the...
Imagine being friend zoned by your niece, who is the widow of supposedly your other niece, because she loves your older brother who is bald and has no dragon. Could there be a worse way of friend zoning? I advise Adam to turn into Rhaena. I'm sure it will suit her. And the notion itself of Adam not legitimized, stupid, and not rational. We already agreed that the foundations are stupid, but it is what it is. The comedy moments in this episode is also great. And finishing with the best scene of the episode, if not the entire season. I think the Dragon's battle competes with it. But anyway, in the last episode, I described Laris as the honest one and Thailand as the deceiving one. And it turned out that I was terribly wrong. I'm hurt that I'm wrong. I'm the Azor Ahai. How could I be wrong? And the burden of saving the world lies on me. But maybe R'hllor is testing me. Frankly, I don't know. As I said, it turned out that it's quite the opposite. Thailand is not deceiving Aegon, he's just polite. This also proves that Aegon made the wrong decision by not going to Lannisport. Don't let the last scene make you forget that. But before going to the speech itself, the build-up to the scene is great. First, how Aegon realized that he can't just keep running for a false hope. He's a king, he's a dragon rider. He's not a fugitive knight to keep running. He's not a fugitive knight that keeps running and then killed by an arrow anonymously, while the realm thinks that he was murdered by his brother. This scene in a way or two is similar to Rock's Rest. Also, his two companions' characters are revealed perfectly. We see Laris' pragmatism and Thailand lordship and pride. In the end, he's a Lannister. And the climax scene when he started to deliver his speech. And I want to say a few things here. First, Tom Glynn. Oh my god, what an actor. And this is not the first time. He probably has also the best acting scene in the second season as well. And second, when he started to deliver his speech, the first thing that came to my mind is Theon. And I thought an arrow would kill them and it would be a great absurdism. But that didn't happen. And the third thing, when I saw the fierce signs of the army, I was not happy. I thought, why they are afraid? Maybe because he was declared dead and they are astonished that he came back from death? And I will not lie, I did not like it. Yes, it works, but not convincing. But then we see why they were afraid. And the irony is that he really believed himself. I mean, those Targaryens are such narcissists. My only reservation of this scene is I wished that they show Sunfire is not perfectly healthy. Problems with fire, or he falls, something like that. I'm not talking about the previous events and how they showed us that he's already dead. As I said, the foundations are shaky. We are judging this episode by itself as a unit. And it would be unfair to the writers of this episode, who I think are the only ones who are trying to make the efforts of connecting the storylines. So overall, it's a great episode. It has nearly everything we expected from a House of the Dragon episode, keeping in mind that the foundations are already shaky. And it deserved a solid 8.7. It really made me excited for the next episode. After the fourth episode, I gave up on this show. The fifth gave me hope, and this episode pulled me back in. And I saw the promo for the next episode. I'm on fire for Templeton Battle.